I'm so excited to give you a tour of all the neighborhoods of West Parker. I'm going to go through the different HOAs, the amenities, what the homes look like, all of the stats, how they're performing in the market, and everything you need to make your decision about what area of Parker is right for you. I'm out braving the Colorado cold weather today without Jake Friedel, my brother, best friend, business partner. If you're missing his dad jokes today, or maybe some of our sibling rivalry, no worries, we've got more coming with both of us very soon. But today, let's check out all of the neighborhoods of West Parker. So today we'll go over Stonegate, Stepping Stone, Meridian Village, Bradbury Ranch, and Stroh Ranch. And stay tuned because I've got a hot take about some of the new builds. So let's hit it. I am Megan Friedel. I am usually joined by my brother and business partner, Jake Friedel, and together we are your full-time real estate agents, part-time tour guides to all things Southern Denver living. And whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 900 days, we are always happy to talk you through the move, answer any questions you have, and give you any guidance you need. All of our information is in the description below. So if you've decided you think that Parker might be a fit for you, you're probably also realizing that Parker is really massive. And so it might be hard to know which area of Parker specifically is going to be right for you. So West Parker itself is a great option for people who are looking for a little bit of commutability ease. Being on the west side of Parker means, you've got a little easier access to I-25, you've got easier access to Lone Tree and everything that's over there. And being further up north means you've got quicker access to E470 for commuting. So that gives it a little bit of convenience on that end. Plus, you've also got really great access to everything that downtown Parker has to offer in a lot of the communities that we're going to look at today. And downtown Parker, it's not like a big, massive city by any means, but as far as a lot of the southern Denver suburbs that we're looking into, I think it's got a really cute downtown with ample amenities. It's great for a lot of the restaurants it has, and it's doing a lot of work on their main street, which is just a little area of Parker where they're doing some re-beautification projects and a lot of work to make everything more beautiful. But I think Parker is already pretty fantastic. So when you're on the west side of Parker and you're still kind of close to downtown, I think you've got access to a lot of really great stuff. It's great for people who are looking for a little bit newer style homes in a kind of typical suburb. So when I say newer, I'm not really going into some super new builds today. There are a few in some of the communities we're going to talk about, but I'm saying newer in the fact that, you're not in downtown Denver where you're looking at completely redoing the plumbing and the electrical and all those major systems. Our latest homes that we're going to talk about today are the early 90s. So I consider that pretty new. Homes that you're not going to need a ton of maintenance. You might need to do some repairs and some upgrades, but not any of the big ticket items that you might see in some of the older communities. But let's talk a little bit about who West Parker might not be for. If you're headed to Parker because you're really looking for the acreage that it provides and all of kind of the more rural spacing, the neighborhoods we're talking about today are just a little bit too close to everything to really have that for you. It also is not great for people who are looking to seek out these really nice luxury golf amenities that Parker is known to have. They do exist on West Parker a little bit, but they're a little further south than where we're talking today, and a little further east is where you're going to find more of those, same with kind of the more rural areas. It's not for folks who are looking to avoid an HOA. Pretty much everywhere we are talking about today in Western Parker does have an HOA. If you're looking for a Western Parker community that does not have an HOA, Cottonwood is just north of the ones we're going to talk about today, and it does not have an HOA. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility there. And there's some communities, if you go way further out east, that do not have an HOA, but everything we're talking about today is in an HOA community. And then it's also not going to be for people who really hate like a cookie cutter suburb. It's just the truth of that's what these neighborhoods are. If that's really not your thing, if you're looking for the historic charm, if you're looking for really unique homes or custom built homes, again, there is some of that in Parker, but not in any of the areas we're talking about today. So we'll start out over here in Stonegate, and I love Stonegate for its location. I like that it's quite a bit further north and quite a bit further west, so you've got all those access to everything like we talked about already, easy access to I-25, Lone Tree, getting into DTC to Commute. But I also really like that Stonegate still has a super maintained feel. You can see behind me. These yards are maintained, the homes are maintained. And that's just something that comes with an HOA. And this is an HOA protected community, but the HOA fee is roughly $17 a month. And that is the lowest fee that we're going to talk about today. It's also part of a metro district, which sometimes means that you're going to see really elevated taxes. But here, the taxes are very typical. I mean, on a $600,000 home, your typical taxes here are probably just around or above $4,000. And when we're talking about elevated taxes, I mean, there are areas of, say, Castle Rock, you go into Founders Village and you take that same price home, you're going up $1,000 to $2,500 a year. So that really makes a difference. I like that they have nice normal tax prices, really low HOA fee, and it still has all of that really well maintained feel to it. And despite that low fee, they still have a really solid HOA amenity group feature. So there are 2 different metro districts that you're going to be a part of. And depending on which metro district you are in Stonegate is going to qualify which pool you go to. But there's 2 different pools to go to. They have little clubhouse, fitness center, and people really like the amenities that the community has to offer. And because those are actually part of the metro district, not the HOA, that's why you see the fees be lower. But also because the metro district is really well run, that's why you don't see that really inflated tax price. You can see out here, although they have the typical home setup, homes kind of right next to each other that you're going to see in any suburb, they've still done a really good job and allotted for open space. So if you look behind me, you're going to see these little pocket open spaces kind of all over in Stonegate and really in a lot of the areas that we're going to talk about in West Parker today. I feel like Stonegate does a great job of that. They have a couple little parks nearby as well, some pocket parks that you can go out to. So what the stats tell us about the neighborhood in Stonegate, and for all of these neighborhoods, I'm going to use single family homes median stats for the last year. That typical home is going to look like a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 2,350 square feet above ground, 3,319 square feet total, including the basement, $700,000 closeout price, 18 days on the market, and a build year of 1995. The lot size was about 6,882 square feet on average. Now, the reason I'm including days on market in these stats is because I think it's important to tell you how quickly a home has moved in the last year. The longer the days it sat on market before it sold might tell you that that neighborhood just doesn't really sell as well. The great news, Stonegate at just 18 days on market is performing really well. It's the best of any of the neighborhoods we're going to talk about today, but there are no neighborhoods that are performing super poorly for today's market. The highest days on market that we're going to talk about of any of the neighborhoods today is still very in line with typical of Colorado's market. So any of these neighborhoods, what I can see so far, are going to probably sell pretty quickly and appreciate pretty well. As far as getting out of Parker from Stonegate, you're most likely to be taking Lincoln Road, which, man, it's had some construction on it a lot, and I think they're going to continue to do some construction. I've heard about some more road widening in different parts, so I think that's going to continue to be a bit annoying, but even with all that, I'd still say it's probably one of the more preferable routes outside of Parker, other than 470, which is the toll road. I would rather probably take Lincoln than have to get onto Parker Road or take Main Street a little further south. Next communities I want to take you through are Stepping Stone and Meridian Village. I'm combining them here because they are right up next to each other. They have really similar stats and features, like their square footage and all of those stats are really comparable, but also their HOA is really similar as well. They both got the clubhouse, parks, trails, pool, but they both sit around $170, $180 per month. You can see we just came from Stonegate and I said, one of my favorite things is this is a lower HOA. Well, here you can see what I mean. 170 and 180, we've taken a pretty big jump. And you're not really gaining a ton amenity-wise here. And as far as taxes go, I think it's worth touching on again because the distinguishing features here of Stonegate and Meridian are that they are the newest builds of any of the communities that we're talking about today in this upper western area, with their median build year being about 2015. I know that they are not super new, but that is still pretty fresh. And typically when you see those newer builds, you usually see a price jump with your taxes. And we don't really see that here. So I think that's nice. Now, keep in mind, when I look at taxes, I'm really they jump a lot from place to place. And that's because when they go to assess your property taxes every year, they're going to use condition, they're going to use size, and they're going to reassess your taxes. So that's going to mean really different property tax assessments for each property. But the other thing is property taxes are assessed every 2 years. If you don't take the time to look at where they're assessing, make sure that those jumps make sense and appeal them if they don't, then your property taxes can just continue to rise and really never be reined in. So that is something we do for all our folks. Every 2 years, we sit with you, we look at where your property taxes are being assessed, and if you need help appealing them, that is something we hold your hand and guide you through the whole thing. And in addition to newness, I think another really nice feature that we have over here in Stepping Stone is that you have 2 different bodies of water like this that are really pretty to walk around. There's a couple different trails, lots of pocket parks like most of the communities have, but I think this is kind of a nice, unique feature. I think I make this joke in every Parker video I make, but even in West Parker, your wind is getting better, but you cannot escape the wind out here. But back to Stepping Stone and Meridian Village. So yes, these communities being newer, median 2015, but there are definitely homes newer than that. And one style that I'm seeing, not specific to Parker, anywhere in Denver, in these new builds, is these 3-level homes. So they'll have from the ground up 3 levels. And what I think about these is a very personal opinion. I can totally be wrong here, and if it's your personal preference, it's great. I think that these are a bit of a fad, and I don't really think these are going to appreciate super strongly like some of the other standard home styles, like say a 2-story or a ranch. We saw this with bi-levels and tri-levels when they started doing that in the 80s. They were a big fad for a little bit. Everybody was excited about this new style. Pretty quickly, they burnt out and people were less excited about them and they started to sell not as well. And I could just totally see this being true for these 3-level style homes. They're hard to have that many stairs in a home. People always complain when there's an excess of stairs. It's hard for older folks. It's hard for people who have injuries, people who have disabilities. It's also hard for growing families. If you have little kids, parents typically want all the rooms on one level. And with these pocket style homes, what I usually see is 1 bedroom per level, or maybe 2 on the same level, but rarely 3 or 4 bedrooms on one level because you can't fit them in that kind of a style. So it's purely just a word of caution. I don't think you should not buy that style of home. Just like everything, it's just another pro and con to weigh, and you've got to just take it into consideration when you're valuing a home. The data for the past year of Stepping Stone and Meridian Village look like a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 2,398 above ground square footage with a total square footage of 3,632 square feet. Close price of $780K, 22 days on market, and the median build year of 2015. The lot size was 6,839 square feet. And every time I'm showing out here in Stepping Stone, I feel like I have the worst service. I can't tell you how many times I've had to write down my showing codes instead of using the app because I just can't log in. This is typically a comment I get for further out new builds, not ones that are kind of so centralized, but it's always a problem here. So maybe blame it on my phone carrier, but maybe it's a real thing. So this is the Bradbury Ranch community, and I want to clear up a little bit about the naming of the area. So it has a little pool, a small little community center, and a really nice park a part of it. And everything around here has a little bit of a different names. So most people are going to refer to this area as Bradbury Ranch. When you look on a map, you're going to see Auburn Hills as another name. And then when you get to the pool center, you're going to see Bradbury Hills. Bradbury Ranch is the overarching area. Auburn Hills is a small subset of Bradbury Ranch. And here in Auburn Hills, there are more areas where you have a little bit more maintenance included with your HOA. So Bradbury Ranch HOA is about $125 a month. Auburn Hills has an elevated HOA area where it's $175 a month. And what you get for that extra $50 a month is a front yard maintenance free. So they take care of all of the yard maintenance and shoveling for you over there. So that's one key difference, but that's just to clear that up a little bit. Bradbury Ranch has that same typical suburban feel. I like some of the homes that have that brick facing on the exterior. And your typical home here is going to look like a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2,104 square foot above ground, and 3,136 square foot total, including the basement. The days on market for the last year averaged out at about 20 days on market, and the average build year was 2,000, and a median closed price of $636,000, making Bradbury Ranch one of our most affordable options that we're talking about today. This is another community with really reasonable taxes, and I really love the Auburn Hills Park. It's got this big open space, and it really, breaks up the whole suburban stack feel. And we have saved the furthest out for last. But in Colorado, as a general rule of thumb, when you tend to go further out south and further out east, you start to see a little bit more affordability open up. And that's true here for Stroh Ranch. We are the furthest south and the furthest east of any of the communities that we're talking about today. But with that, we have the lowest purchase price. We also have only a $67 a month HOA, which still has all the bells and whistles. You still get the tennis courts, the pools, the clubhouse. And then again, the taxes here are pretty low in this community. So definitely some affordability with still some really nice maintenance, a really similar HOA suburb type style. And you're still close to downtown Parker. You're just a little further from getting access to I-25. You do have to take Parker Road probably most of the time, which I already kind of harped on as being not my favorite road to take. I would say Stroh Ranch is one of the areas that I hear my clients complain more about the HOA than a lot of comparable areas. But I would also say there's not really much in their HOA that would impact me personally. There's not much that I would want to do to my property or in my neighborhood that the HOA is really strict on and actually enforces that would put me off. And then I'll also say, a lot of these HOAs are losing a lot of their rights. It's becoming harder for them to find folks. It's becoming harder for them to really have much bite with their bark. So yes, there are definitely some rules that you have to abide by in an HOA community. But if you're okay with an HOA, I would say all of these are probably pretty doable for you. The data for Stroh Ranch, you're looking at your typical home being a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 1,684 above ground square foot, and 2,419 total square foot home, with a median closed price last year of $590,000, just 19 days on the market, and a median year of $1,999. The lot size looked about 5,707 square feet. Now, this makes it the smallest of the neighborhoods that we've looked at. It also makes it the most affordable. And a note on the lot sizes, I will say you can see that some of the lot sizes from the other neighborhoods we've mentioned are quite a bit bigger for median, but also they have a bigger footprint. So when you're thinking about usable backyard square footage, you do have to take that in consideration. I'd say they're fairly comparable. Those are the main neighborhoods I wanted to hit today for our West Neighborhood Parker tour. Now there's a lot of new builds coming to West Parker, so if you want a little deeper dive on those, I do that in my Changes Coming to Parker in 26 and 27 video. And I'm sure you have more questions, so reach out to me. All of my information is in the description below. I'm so excited to hear about what your moving plans are, what your biggest concerns and questions are. So reach out and we'll talk soon.